Hello, my name is James, I'm the Mayor of Jamestown, and I don't really know what this video is going to be. I've kind of just decided I'm going to make it, and that's what's going to happen, essentially. So, recently, I picked up Toukiden Kiwami, although I always want to call it Toukiden for some reason. I picked it back up in, I want to say November of 20, I was gonna say 11. That's impossible because the game wasn't made until 2015. Who should I bring? I'll bring these these three. So I picked the game back up in November of 21 after having it on Vita for a while. It runs really well on Vita, but I was like, I kind of want it on PS4 as well, just so I have an excuse to play it more than once. And I'm really just enjoying my time with the game. It's essentially scratching that Monster Hunter itch without it being a Monster Hunter game, as you can obviously tell. So with Toukiden Kiwami, I just want to call it Toukiden. With Toukiden Kiwami, you are basically just a demon slayer. It's literally Monster Hunter, except instead of monsters, they're demons and Oni. So it has obviously a very Japanese, what's the word I'm looking for? Aesthetic tied to it. And most importantly, you can turn into a literal Beyblade, which is the funniest thing ever, and I will show you how that can get better in a minute. So yeah, it's basically, to be kind of rude, you could call it a Monster Hunter clone. I don't think that's exactly fair, because it does a fair bit different other than the general aesthetic, because obviously you can play multiplayer. I believe the servers are still up, if I'm not mistaken. But you don't need to play multiplayer. You can have the AI, and as I've seen someone online, they're like, don't be mistaken into thinking that the AI is bad, because the AI, look, they just kind of do their own thing, and a lot of the time you're not even really needed, which some might say is a bad thing, but the fact that they're competent and pick up items for you, with the exception of the sparklies, which is just unfortunate, they are just really useful to have, because you never have to worry about them being really dumb, and they just do their own thing, and it's very nice. But yeah, the game is, I believe it was released back in, I want to say 2015. Might have been earlier, I could be wrong, but originally it came out on the Vita, which was Toukiden Age of Demons, I believe, and then Kiwami was released for the PlayStation 4, which is the one I'm playing, and then there's a sequel which people do say is better than this one, but it's also slightly different. So the second one, there's the boss finally. So obviously, Monster Hunter games, you can fight small, tiny demons like these little guys if you so desire, but eventually you're going to need to fight a big boy over here, which we'll get into the fun of that in a minute. Okay, that's just rude. So with the second one, obviously you have a vast selection of weapons to pick and choose from depending on your preferences. If you see the AI dodge, probably means you should also dodge. Okay, that's just rude. So yeah, I think there's I want to say 9 different weapons, but I could be wrong. I'll have a look. Oh my goodness. That was rude. Yeah, so I believe there's 9 weapons in this one. Same with the PS Vita. How about we move away from the door? I don't know if you've healed because of that. You haven't? Okay, good. So yeah, you can do this, and it's called Eye of the Demon or something. I'm not 100% sure on what the name is. But basically, you can sort of check which parts of... You can check the monster's health. You can check which parts are about to break, which I will get into more detail in a minute. I am being destroyed, partly because I'm talking a load of BS. Yeah, so the first one has like 9 weapons to choose from, and I think the second one has 11. And the second one does something a little bit different to change itself from the first one, to differentiate itself a little bit, which is it becomes more open world from what I've seen. I don't own the second one. I've not played it. I've only played the Vita and PS4 version of the first one. I can't really have an opinion on the second one because obviously I've not played it. But at the same time, I really like the original design of going around linear areas looking for the boss monster and doing it like that. As I've gotten older, I've kind of gotten sick of open world games just because they tend to take longer, but that's that. So, moving away from that point, I suppose, the big gimmick with, I suppose it's a pretty big gimmick. The big sort of staying point and the fun part of the game is that you can rip off many different limbs of a monster, and then you can purify them like this, as you see. And then it sort of essentially makes the demon supposedly worse, but I never feel like it does make them any worse, because they still beat the shit out of you like that. You've got special attacks like this, which will charge, so you've got a weapon one and a party one. Here's my favourite part about probably the entire game, is that I can literally Beyblade a monster pretty close to death. It's fantastic. That's why I really enjoy the knives. And then he can Beyblade me back too. Which is, you know... Oh, shit, I've actually died. Thank you. Thank you, team. So yeah, a big part of the game is that you just... With this on, you can see what you can actually destroy on the monster. And then it'll fling off, and then you can purify it, and then you get the parts. Very similar to how Monster Hunter does it, where you just... That was a lot to watch. Where you can break off the tail or parts of its armor, and then you go and collect the item. But with Toukiden, you have a lot of parts to focus on. And a lot of fun is just slicing off so many different parts of the monster. Which is definitely a big part of the... I'd say a big part of the game. It's the main gimmick of the game. And then the second one is the use of what is essentially called the Mitama system, which is kind of like you equip... It's basically the game's version of skills in comparison to Monster Hunter, which would... Can we, like... Do you want to, like, die so I can take all of your loot? That'd be great. Thanks. Cheers. So with the Mitama system, you can equip a bunch of stuff and it'll give you secondary sort of buffs. But then in combat, it'll give you these, which will do different things. So we got Leech, which, you know, life steals. You got Might, which increases attack power. You've got Carnage, which I have absolutely no idea what it does, but it sounds cool. And then I think all of them come with Recovery, which is literally just a free... it's basically drinking a potion. So instead of items, you have the Mitama system, which is a very different way of doing things. Let me switch out to a different one. So we've got... So here we are, we've got all the different weapons as well. So we've got dual knives, which I'm a big fan of just because Beyblading is really fun. Longsword, pretty typical. Nowhere near as stylish as it is in Monster Hunter, but unfortunately that's life. Pretty slow, pretty powerful. I played it a lot on the Vita. The second time around, I just could not get into it as much, so I'm just enjoying the knives because I really like the aerial. Spear I've never used. Gauntlets, not my thing. Great Chain and Sickle. The Sickle is quite fun because it's sort of a mix between long range, between range and what's the word I'm looking for? Close range. So you've got like long ranged AoE, but then close ranged increased damage. It's a bit of fun. I quite enjoy the Sickle. Bow, you can imagine what the bow is like. Heavy Club, it's just kind of like a greatsword. Naginata is it's kind of like the spear, but more fun. I would say it has some aerial elements to it. It's fun. I enjoy the Naginata. And then you've got Gun, which is very reminiscent of, I don't know, maybe the heavy bow gun from Monster Hunter, I want to say. With the Mitama, you get loads basically. So we've got so they all have different sort of selections, as it were. So these ones are specifically for attack. So slightly increase attack, increase the maximized health gauge, and enables use of skills in the middle of an attack sequence. So each Mitama, you know, it's personal preference on what you want to do and how you want to play. This one is renewal, slightly increase the amount of health gauge that turns red after taking damage. So they all have different sort of uses and applications. For instance, Oda Nobunaga is the cat version of Oda Nobunaga. And if I'm not mistaken, he's a character from... oh, what is it? Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors. I've seen him in Warriors All Stars anyway. And you can get him as part of DLC for free. Free DLC, which is nice. So, yeah. And obviously he does something completely different to the other Mitama that's equipped. So let me just grab another mission. Who should we hunt this time? We'll kill the Wind Shredder. Why not? Quite happy with those three for the time being. So with the new Mitama, you'll have completely different skills, and it's all down to personal preference. So if you want to be more tanky, you can. If you want to do DPS, you can focus completely on DPS. If you want to do something weird, like Oda Nobunaga, you can pick him because he doesn't focus on attack. Instead, he's more of a, I'm gonna chop off all of your limbs and then purify them so I can get as many items as I can get. I'm a pretty simple guy. I tend to just go for give me the most damage I can get and we'll crack on. But Oda Nobunaga every now and again is a fun inclusion. I don't know if it's random on where the boss will show up, or if there's always a certain area that they will. So it's kind of just looking around and hoping that eventually you'll come across them. But yeah, the game does a lot to differentiate itself from Monster Hunter without doing too much to be sort of completely its own thing. So obviously I think we found it. So obviously the aesthetic is very unique to itself. It has some very unique gameplay mechanics. The Mitama system is a fun sort of differentiation on the armor, like sub skills system that Monster Hunter now does. I don't have too much experience with Monster Hunter, so I can't really speak to how much similarities they have. But if you're looking for something a little bit different from Monster Hunter. You can do a lot worse than Toukiden. It's a lot of fun. You can play with friends if you so desire and can get someone to agree to play the game with you. You get to be a Beyblade, which is honestly the best part. You have special attacks once they've charged up. Again, you can be a Beyblade. Cutting off so many different parts of a monster is a ton of fun. Magic. It's a fun game. You don't have to worry about it being taken too seriously. Plus, you don't need to worry about being solo a lot of the time due to the fact that you have incredibly competent AI to take care of you, which is really nice, I must admit. Whether this game is better than the second one is difficult for me to say because I've not played the second one. I do intend on getting the second one at some point. It probably won't be for a little while though. But if there's any interest in seeing my thoughts and opinions on the second game, let me know, and I will make sure to pick it up before it eventually disappears physically from the wonderful world of eBay. But yeah, the game's a lot of fun. If you like Monster Hunter or you like Monster Hunter type games such as, you know, God Eater, that type of thing, I'd recommend it. I don't have much experience with God Eater, I must admit. I do need to pick up God Eater for it at some point though. And I've got the God Eater, I think it's Rage Burst on Vita as well, that I not really put much time into. But yeah, if you're into those types of games, give yourself a try with Toukiden Kiwami. It's a fun game. It has some great systems. If you enjoy doing the typical hunting monsters to improve all of your gear, it's a really fun gameplay loop. The story's... I'm not too deep into the story, but the story's enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's anything to write home about, but it's a Monster Hunter game. It's not literally a Monster Hunter game, but it's in the essence of a Monster Hunter game, so you don't really need a reason other than big monster scary must murder. So yeah, definitely heavy recommend. Even in 2022, I'm like, why didn't I spin? It's because I'm out of bloody stamina. Even in 2022, the game holds up pretty well. Yeah, it looks... admittedly, it does look a bit dated. But a game that came out in, I believe, 2015, you know, is gonna look a bit... is gonna look a bit dated by today's standards. I mean, it's nearly 7 years old at this point, which is honestly pretty impressive. The game looks pretty good. It's not gonna run... It's not gonna play as smooth as something as, like Rise... Again, because Rise came out in... I'm trying to think. When did Rise come out? Was it 21 or was it 22? No, it couldn't have been 22. Pretty sure it's 21. Please don't miss. Okay, good. So yeah, that's a Unity attack. It's basically just... It's very similar to the weapon attacks. You fill up the orange gauge in the top left. You get a weapon attack. Fill up the blue gauge, you get a Unity attack. They're just big attacks that do a bunch of damage. Nothing special. But yeah. Toukiden in 2022. You are probably going to be very hard-pressed to find strangers playing the game online. I've not checked myself, just because I'm enjoying the game solo quite happily on my own. But if you... That was a bit mean. If you want to just give another Monster Hunter game a try that doesn't take itself too seriously, and you can just casually solo... that's very mean. That you can casually solo at a rate that you're happy with, be my guest. Not that you need my approval on the matter in the first place. The game's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. The fact that I've bought it twice should demonstrate that, you know, it's a pretty solid title. I do not regret owning it both on Vita and PS4. And what's nice, if you do get it on both Vita and PS4, you can switch your characters between the two games. I chose not to just because I don't know where I've put my Vita. It's hidden somewhere in my house. I'm currently unsure, which is a shame because I love the Vita. The Vita was a great console. It's just a shame that it did not get the love and support it needed until it was too late, which is, unfortunately, that is life. But yeah, this is Toukiden Kiwami. Definitely a lot of fun. If you're into Monster Hunter games, you'll probably be into this. If you enjoy God Eater, you'll probably be into this. If you enjoy Dauntless, you'll also probably be into this. Basically, if you enjoy murdering massive monsters, you're going to have a good time. So there we are. Even in 2022, the game is still very solid. Big recommend. Anyway, that is all from me for now. Thanks to those that stuck around until the end for watching. And until next time, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Goodbye.